One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. Then let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm standing at the crossroads. I'm feeling like a lost soul. Don't know where I wanna go, but all I know is I wanna be free. They're telling me to let it be, but that just ain't in me, no. Jealousy and envy, but all I see is I wanna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Don't let it get the most of me. Eventually, I'm gonna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be free. Let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I told them take their aim off me. Stop trying to get a name off me. If they would just let me be, I'm gonna be free. I told them take them chains off me and throw away the locks and keys. If they would just let me be, eventually I'm gonna be free.
What up, though? 7 days, and we're back again for another episode of Dominant Effect. I'm Marsh Bishop. We got Mike Ball, Aaron Olinger. What up, everybody? Glad everybody was able to tune in. We got another show for you that we hope we can get out as much information as possible and try to get some kind of explanation for some of this that's been going on. But before we get started, everybody, hit that like button. That will get us up on the proper algorithm. We've noticed through these shows that we got a lot of people that be viewing, but we don't see them on that like. So hit that like button. It only takes you literally 1 second to hit that like button, and hit the little hearts or whatever it is that needs to be hit on there to get YouTube to put this out in the right algorithm for more people can be able to watch this. So tonight, people all over the world are kind of asking the same question. Why does suddenly it feels like all these outbreaks are happening everywhere and all at once? So Ebola is making headlines again. Norovirus outbreaks is spreading through cruise ships and schools, and throwing Hantavirus scare is tied to international travel. Tick populations exploding across parts of the U.S. and reports of China causing people online to panic over this possibility of another mysterious uh, virus event. But there's a bigger question. Are these natural outbreaks happening in a connected world, or are governments, corporations, and global organizations experimenting with systems that not only control the viruses, but they control the fear, the biology, and the crisis management dealing with it? So tonight we're going to try to separate the fact from the fear. We're going to look at the science part of it. We're going to look at the timing. We're going to look at the patterns, and we're going to ask that mainstream question that media won't touch, and really quick to try to dismiss: is this just happening, or is there some kind of correlation with this? So this is what we're going to talk about tonight. So we're going to first hit with the reason why people are so suspicious about this. And one thing that hasn't changed permanently since COVID is the whole trust issue, dealing with these viruses and these other things that keeps popping up, because millions of people feel like they're being lied to, or that they were lied to during the COVID. Some people believe the information was censored. Others believe that the government changed the narratives to um, repeatedly disorganize people and have them to basically do whatever it was that they wanted to be done. And because of that, every outbreak is now automatically triggers this suspicion. And honestly, whether people agree with conspiracy theories or not, it's not as important to understand the reasons how, but also the reasons why this is going on. So during COVID, we had the lockdowns that changed the economy. We had vaccine debates as to whether to take the shot, not to take the shot, divided families. Social media censorship became widespread about it. Pharmaceutical companies made billions of dollars off these vaccines, and the governments used these emergency powers to be able to force these lockdowns and basically keep people in the house. And a lot of questions that came up during that time was whether COVID was really that serious, or was that an actual test to see what they needed to do in order to keep people in the house. So when people hear the words like new virus or outbreak or health emergency, they immediately ask themselves, is this a real thing, or is this exaggerated? Is this being used to manipulate population, or is this just another psychological shift that they're trying to do just to see how they will go, how or what responses they're going to end up getting off of that? But suspicion alone is not proof, and that's where this conversation is going to start. So, Aaron, I'm gonna have you start out first with the hantavirus and
Okay.
what's actually going on right now with
I want to mention one thing when you say suspicion. This book I got right here, it's called A Higher Form of Killing. It talks about the experiments done on the U.S. population by our government, where different weapons were tested. And you'll learn that there was enough in Hong Kong about the Hong Kong flu. Um, the flu that came about in 1918 and lasted till 1921. The Spanish flu, there was nothing Spanish about it. This book basically covers different things, all the way down to how the Legionnaire's disease became what it was. And after you read books like that, it gives you a suspicious mind. You want to get more information and seek to better educate yourself so that you can understand what's going on around you. Now, with the Hantavirus, Mike, if you don't mind, put up picture 4, please.
Sure. Here we go.
Okay. This is the Andes strain that is out right now. Now, the first time I heard about the hantavirus, I believe it was in 19 1893 when it hit an Indian reservation. It was the Oglala tribe, and they were basically surrounded by law enforcement military, and that strain ran its course before they allowed anybody to come out off that reservation. It killed quite a few people. Back then, they said it was carried by deer ticks. Now, today, this Andes strain is considered to be zoonotic virus, which means it can be transferred from animals to humans and from humans to animals. So if you're carrying it, you can give it to your dog or cat, or if your dog or cat's got it, they can give it to you. Transmission occurs via inhalation of contaminated aerosols like rodent urine, feces, and saliva. Right now, it's being carried by the long-tailed pygmy rat, commonly found in the rural area of the Andes, which those branch off into Argentina. Once your lungs are infected, it causes hantavirus, what they call cardiopulmonary syndrome, HCPS, which can be fatal. It has a 40% death rate. The Andes strain can be spread from human to human through coughing, sneezing, or contaminated surfaces. Now, your incubation period, a person can carry the virus for up to 6 to 8 weeks, becoming more contagious as the virus takes over the person's body. The diagnosis is detection of 2 particular antibodies and RNA in the blood. Now, your treatment, they say, is there is no specific treatment or antiviral therapy. There's no cure or vaccine. Management is basically supportive fluid management, oxygen therapy, and mechanical ventilation. So they're going to put you on a ventilator.
Man, and once you get on that ventilator, it's really hard to get off a ventilator, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the CDC recently upgraded it to a level 3 virus, which usually means that it's an airborne disease, which makes it a super spreader. Right now, you have 5 U.S. states that are in quarantine on it. There is one particular lady that is showing symptoms, and she will not self-quarantine. So they're going to have to forcefully quarantine her because she's wanting to travel and she's wanting to do all this other stuff. And
what?
Yeah.
Why would you, even if you had the normal flu, like why would you want to leave your house? You know what I mean? It's like
some people don't show any common sense. I guess
no
common
kidding.
sense ain't common these days. Prevention is you want to avoid sweeping rodent droppings dry. You want to wet the area down before you sweep up. You want to wear goggles and masks when cleaning. And then you want to do sanitation control. You want to properly dispose of human and animal waste. Now, your symptoms is in phase 1, that is fever, headaches, general discomfort, and muscle aches. That's the febrile phase. The hypotensive phase, which is phase 2, is shock, capillary leaks. That's leak of your blood vessels. And phase 3, which is your cardiopulmonary phase, that's your death phase. Your lungs fills up with fluid and you have respiratory failure. And then in stage 4, if you make it that far, you have the convalescent phase, which is gradual recovery. And that's basically what I have on that disease there.
So real quick. Oh, go ahead.
They ever say the reason why or how that Hantavirus even ended up on that ship? Because they said that they checked the ship and there wasn't any rodents or whatever on there. So
Yeah.
did they actually say the reason? What was the actual reason how that even took place?
Mike knows that. I'll let Mike cover that one.
So there was a Dutch couple that, essentially was down there in Argentina doing this whole thing, planning on getting on that ship and doing the voyage that they planned on doing. Now, before they got on, they went and wanted to go bird watching, quote unquote. So they went bird watching, and where they found these birds at, where they were taking pictures of them and stuff like that, was at a landfill, very close to a landfill in Argentina. And so while they're there, they're taking pictures, whatever, probably walking through some crazy, landscape. And they ended up getting in contact with that shit, literally. Anyways, then once they were, they did that for the day or whatever, then they go back to the ship and they leave and depart the next day or whatever the case is. And as they're leaving, I actually have right here the actual timeline of the ship right here. It actually shows like the stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. This is all the different who was affected, where was what ship departed. The first passenger, a 70-year-old man, falls ill. That's stage 2. Then stage 3 is April 11th right there. Passenger dies aboard the ship. That's the man that first dies, the man that caught it. And then body is removed from the ship. On the 4th level, actually, that's where, and it says passenger 69-year-old wife leaves and flies to South Africa, where she dies April 26th. Test results May 4th on her are positive for hantavirus. More than 24 other passengers leave the ship. Then stage 5, April 27th. Second ill passenger is evacuated to South Africa. Test results May 2nd are positive for hantavirus. Then May 2nd, now this is the stage 6 now out of the 8. May 2nd, a German woman who showed symptoms April 28th dies aboard the ship. And then 7, May 3rd, the ship arrives in Cape Verde. WHO, World Health Organization, says it's reacting to a suspected hantavirus outbreak on the ship, which now has 3 other people who are ill. On May 6th, it departs en route to the Canary Islands. And then 7, the ship departs Cape Verde en route to the Canary Islands. That is the timeline of that actual ship itself right there. Now, one thing I do want to make a point, I want to bring our attention to, hold on, let me bring this correct. There we go. Is it says right here, here's the latest numbers as of today. WHO originally reported 8 total cases within, and with 3 deaths on May 8th. That later increased to 11 reported cases globally linked to the ship outbreak. Now, I'm assuming that when they were letting passengers off the boat as they were going through, allowing people to disembark before they knew that there was an outbreak happening, that's where the medical professional on board there failed to recognize that. And it says WHO and associated tracking agencies now appear to be narrowing the confirmed active outbreak count to about 10 cases after some reclassification / testing and review. So the death toll does remain at 3 deaths. But here's a few important context points that are getting lost online, right? This is not behaving like COVID necessarily. Transmission efficiency appears very low. So yes, it does go from human to human and all that stuff. But let me go ahead and explain that there's 9 different variants of hantavirus. And so it says most hantavirus do not spread person to person. Well, that's 8 of those strains. The 9th version of the strain, which is the Andes virus, or the Andes version of that variant, whatever, it says do not spread. Most hantavirus do not spread person to person, but the Andes strain is the exception. Health agencies still rate the broader public risk as quote unquote low. So the headline numbers right now are 10 to 11 outbreak linked cases worldwide, 3 deaths, and 41 monitored in the US right now. 0 confirmed US outbreak cases at this moment. So that's just the numbers part.
Okay. Let me add this. And this is where I get suspicious. Mike, that was great. That timeline was perfect, man. But where I get suspicious is this. Out of everyone that went on that bird watching tour, how did only one guy come down with it?
Well, because it was only 2 people total. So
Okay.
It wasn't like a tour with the guests. They took it upon themselves before they even got on the ship to go bird watching in the area.
Wouldn't there have been other people that would have paid for the trip too? Are you saying that they're the only 2 that was on the whole thing? I'm not talking about the people on the ship. I'm talking about
so the bird watching thing had nothing to. They didn't pay for that. Okay. That's them going on their own will, leaving the area and saying, "Hey, we want to go do this."
Okay.
And those 2 people only. It wasn't like a group of people went. Only those 2 people went quote unquote bird watching and went to a landfill. I mean, those are the 2 idiots that would do that.
Okay, and I could see where the wind could blow some feces, dust toward them, and
Never
they could
know.
inhale it.
Yep.
But my problem is this: that one guy came down with it. There had to be a driver or somebody there assisting them. I have not heard of a single other case inside that country. I mean, this disease, if there was an outbreak of it, say 1 to 4 or 5 cases, there would be countries shutting down borders because nobody wants this in their country, period. And I haven't heard of a single other case inside Argentina. And it just makes me suspicious. Why was this one guy the only one to come down with it?
No, I totally get that.
Mhm.
Oh, it looks like I lagged out. I totally get what you're saying on that aspect. I don't know what happened to my thing real quick, but I'll go ahead and work on this real quick.
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about that too, Aaron, when I was hearing the different things about that, and I'm like, well, hold on now. If you just had some people that was out there bird watching it, and then they end up sick, why come you? I mean, surely there was more people bird watching than just these 2 people. You know what I
Right.
mean? It would have went a lot further than that. You know what I mean? The actual outbreak itself would have went way further than just these couple people here. You know what I mean? Even with the wind, okay. So, but basically, what you're saying is that you inhaled some bird droppings, and this is what got it. You know what I mean? It just kind of.
Well, they were probably rummaging
makes
through
sense.
and literally walking through trash at a landfill, you know. And remember, again, like I said, it's not like it was a paid thing from the trip. Like, oh, hey, we're gonna go bird watching, then we're gonna go over here onto the ship. It was just 2 people that decided their own goodwill to go and do that, right? And then they came back and brought it onto the ship. And then it spread like kind of a little bit like a wildfire. I mean, you're in a tube. It's kind of like being in an airplane, you know?
Yeah, but to me, let's say that feces, dust from the feces, the spores got up, and the one guy inhaled it. I mean, if it's spreading like that and that easily to catch, how come the local natives,
So
nobody else has caught it? Because the normal progression is you have an outbreak. Outbreaks turn into epidemics. Epidemics, once you get into 55 nations or more, become pandemics. I
lagging
haven't
out. I
heard
don't know
of
what
a
the heck is going on.
single local native or anybody else that had got it but him. And that's what makes me suspicious that somebody might have released a weapon, because nobody else is showing any signs of having it, especially the people that live in that vicinity. They should all be sick. There should be something major going on there, and there's not. And that's what makes me suspicious. Uh, but I love your timeline, Mike. That was perfect, man.
Yeah, I think Mike froze right there.
Oh,
There was a comment from the from Instagram.
All right, take that one off. My other
Yeah,
side.
there was a comment
My
on
whole
there.
computer just shut down.
What happened to you?
My whole computer shut down. So
I
yeah,
can
there you
see you.
go. So what I was gonna say, real quick on that whole thing, while
Can't hear you.
I damn.
I can hear you. I don't know why you can't hear. Can you hear me, Aaron?
Yeah.
I don't know why you can't hear him. Yeah,
Okay.
there was a there's a guy that's over on our Instagram feed called Beheading the Serpent. He said that there was a case in Argentina where multiple people have died, and it was their correlation where they were all at a birthday party.
So
Okay.
there is multiple
And
cases
that
of
occurred
natives
at the
getting
same
it.
time, or
Yes.
how long ago was this? Okay.
Can you guys
I
hear
don't
me?
know.
Because I
I
didn't
don't,
hear that
yeah,
news. I
I
didn't
can hear
see
you,
that.
Mike.
Okay, so the answer, what I've been trying to say,
But
and
whoever
since this whole
reported that,
thing,
that's good to know. I did
Aaron
not
can't hear
hear
me.
that at all.
Hold on, Aaron. I don't know
Yeah,
why you
Aaron
can't
can't
hear
hear me,
either.
but you're gonna have to relay this to him.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
So there is many natives that have caught hantavirus over there in Argentina. Many. I just looked it up, and then my whole computer froze, so I have to reset everything. But nonetheless, yes, they do get it, and it's not like it's a wildly. It's not like it happens nonstop or anything. It happens like a case, 2 cases. They handle it whatever the case is. But that it is something that they do get themselves. Now let me go ahead and reset my whole PC and I'll be back.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna jump into this other one while he resets. We're gonna
Okay.
jump into this this norovirus.
All right.
And you know, norovirus is basically was often called just a stomach bug, which causes vomiting, diarrhea, stomach pain. It spreads incredibly fast, and a lot of people that's in like a lot of crowded environments, stuff like that, they usually pick it up fairly quick. If somebody gets it in there, usually goes pretty quick. Cruise ships, nursing homes, schools, restaurants are common outbreak causes for this actual norovirus, which we just seen was about a couple weeks ago, where there was a cruise ship that had to dock in Florida because you had over, it was like 117, 120 people that ended up with norovirus, and they had to end up turning the ship around and going back to port because you had so many sick people. But the CDC shows that thousands of outbreaks like this happens every year in the United States alone.
Mhm.
So unlike the actual fears and stuff that they're putting online, norovirus is not really that mysterious about that particular one. But here's why people still connect all these together, because people see a lot of these repeated outbreaks, and a lot of this stuff is happening on cruise ships. So so people see how fast that a virus like that can transmit and go global so quick, because you have people that's going on these cruise ships that's from various parts of the country, various parts of the world, and they end up transmitting it, getting it, and then taking it back home with them, which in turn spreads it around as well. So could future outbreaks be internationally amplified through these travel systems? Absolutely. You know, you go on people on cruise ships, just on regular airplane rides, whatever. It's fairly easy to be able to transmit these viruses, and they can, you know, if you get the right one, yeah, it can spread like wildfire, just like COVID did. But the mortality rate on that is basically right around 200,000 deaths a year, mostly among elderly people, young children, uh, immune compromised individuals, and populations that have fairly weak health systems. A lot of the third world countries and countries that have, you know, like really crappy health care. A lot of their elderly and their children end up picking this up and not being able to survive through it. And this particular neurovirus, it survives because it survives on surfaces. It's in food, it's in water. So you can easily pick this up, and you have regular flu-like symptoms. You know, you have the nausea, the vomiting, diarrhea, dehydration, your stomach cramps, all of that, just like a regular flu. And a lot of people just kind of, you know, just, well, it's just a bug. We just give it a couple of days and just let it just run through, you know. And I think one of the biggest things dealing with all these viruses, I think probably the number one thing dealing with all these, is that people really don't wash their hands. You know, they're walking around and they're touching things. They're hitting, you know, opening doors and putting your hands on rails and all this other stuff that other people done been in contact with. Is fairly easy to be able to contract something like that when a lot of people just doing just a simple thing is just washing your hands could prevent a whole lot of this stuff from going on. Disinfecting these surfaces, you know, a lot of those cruise ships, you know, they're not just running around just steady, just wiping off stuff. You know what I mean? You're going to come in contact. You're going to touch things that other people done touched. You know what I mean? That's just a risk that you take. That's a risk you take anywhere. You don't have to be on a cruise ship for that. I mean, you can go to your job and touch a door handle that somebody else had touched. And if they, you know, sitting there coughing and into their hand and open the door, and you walk right behind them and do it, guess what? You just got contacted too. It's really that easy. to be able to spread. But the Norovirus kind of represents how vulnerable these global travel systems really are. Just to see how quick you can start on a trip, and within a day or two, just about half of your passengers are sick. You know what I mean? And how do you think that was? I mean, there was probably a couple people there that was infected, that touched things, coughed, whatever, and it transmitted. You know what I mean?
And that's one that's also kind of a yearly thing as well. It's not like a huge thing to be like super worried about. Now, yes, of course, is it something to keep an eye on? Of course. And knowing that these outbreaks are happening, probably don't be trying to get on a cruise ship right now. That's what my mind does.
Well, that's what some people would think, and then some people would also think that I can catch this just going to the store. So,
well, it's true. It's true.
Not going to really stop me from going on my cruise that I done paid $7,000-8,000 for. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna go and try my luck. You know what I mean? Shoot, I've been on several cruises, and I always took like hand sanitizers, all that stuff all the time. You know what I mean?
You know what I advocate for? I advocate for banning all cruise ships in the United States. That's what I'm for that. Let's legislate all cruise ships to never be able to disembark and park here. Let's do that.
And why is that?
Because of problems. It's a subpar vacation anyways. How about that? Hot take.
Yeah, I bet you a whole lot of them is going to disagree with you on that one.
That's all right. That's all right. They can disagree.
But like I said, though, a lot of this transmitting, like I said, its own surfaces. It is airborne. You can be in food, water, all of that. It can very well happen. But like I said, that can with Norovirus, that can basically happen anywhere. You know what I mean? Because like I said, most people don't wash their hands, and then they sit there and they touch everything, and then they rub their eyes or play with the nose or put the finger in the mouth. You know what I mean? Whatever. Boom. There you go. You know what I mean? It's really just that quick. But let me ask you a question. Now, I know we're not talking about COVID, but I know COVID is the reason why everybody is just really in an uproar when it comes to a lot of this.
And everyone's looking at this going, okay, is this going to be 2.0? Or are they going to try to treat us like this? Absolutely. After that scam, of course, people are going to be hesitant.
Right. So my question is, has COVID permanently changed the way people think about these outbreaks? And why do you think that is?
Well, again, we got a little bit of context of the realism aspect of what happened there. And there used to be a trust factor between the government and the people, and also something like the World Health Organization, stuff like that. I just think that people have woken up after they saw and got treated there's many kids that went to school, quote unquote, from home, but not even the homeschooling thing. They were forced that way. And I don't know. I think a lot of people were personally affected by that, and they woke up and started researching a shit ton about it as well. Then other documentaries came out, more information came out, and now there's like zero trust. It was like, okay, well, now you use this to basically control your people. And that is, of course, the worry. And also one of the big things, what actually harmed, actual vaccines that people actually do need. There are a handful of really good vaccines for us. And now there's a lot of people that actually fully say, my child will never receive another vaccine in his or her life, or whatever the case is. I think people have just lost a lot of trust.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to add my personal experience is my mother died from it. One of my best friends, one of his parents died. I've got club brothers that died from it. I've got cousins that died from it. They got that strain that filled your lungs up and made you feel as though you were drowning until you couldn't breathe no more. And that was the most deadly strain of it.
That's what happened to my grandma too.
Yeah. Now, what concerns me with the norovirus, it's deadly to people 65 age and older and very young kids. I fall into that group myself. And what I found interesting is that hand sanitizer doesn't work to destroy norovirus. You can coat your hands in it and it's not going to stop you from getting norovirus. Your symptoms come on. I mean, your incubation period is 12 to 48 hours. Your symptoms come on within 1 to 3 days. It's a very fast spreader. But what makes it deadly to elderly people is the amount of dehydration that it creates. And you're between throwing up and having the diarrhea, uh, man, that's a bad thing. But showing how little mainstream media covers things, what I found out is your top 5 states for outbreaks of norovirus inside the United States is Ohio, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan. Those are mostly Midwest states. I live in Ohio. I have never heard of a single case of norovirus my entire life in Ohio. And here it is. I'm in the state that has some of the largest outbreaks of it. How come I'm not hearing about it from the mainstream media? You know, this is a trip to me, but I'm going to stop there.
We're going to jump into the one that really terrifies almost everybody when you hear his name, and that's Ebola. Now, recent reports show that there's a growing Ebola outbreak in parts of the Dominican Republic, the Congo, and Uganda. And the WHO officials recently expressed major concern about the spread and the scale of the spread. So Ebola is frightening because really high fatality rates, up to almost 90% fatality rate. Graphic system, human-to-human transmission, and some strains have historically killed large percentages of infected patients. So, now, naturally, when people hear about Ebola spreading, especially in 2026, conspiracy theories start to panic everywhere, and people ask, why does Ebola keep returning? Are these pharmaceutical companies profiting from this fear of pumping it out? And are these outbreaks actually being used to normalize emergency powers globally? Which, back last year, the WHO had this thing called a pandemic agreement, and this pandemic treaty that they was trying to get all the countries to sign, and it basically let the WHO have certain powers to where they could force lockdowns, mandate vaccines,
Hell no.
control travel, override government agencies, and actually enforce government IDs, digital IDs. Now, a lot of countries signed it, a lot of countries didn't. So we have actually gotten out of the WHO at one point during the first Trump administration, and then Biden put us back into the WHO, and then I think now they're in the process of trying to get out again, because of some of the stuff that they're actually trying to do. Now they're trying to kind of downplay it and was like, no, we didn't really mean that we could actually enforce these lockdowns, but we could put it out to the country, and the country can make their own decision as to what it was. But when you actually read what that treaty was, that treaty did not say that it would leave it up to the country. It said that the WHO had full control, that they could actually, lock down a country simply because they wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean,
these organizations sound just like politicians.
Right. So like I said, so when you're dealing with something like Ebola, now that's a totally different playing field that you're dealing with there. You know what I mean? Because that's like I said, that's a 90% death rate.
Is it?
Catch that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, 90% death rate on that.
So that's crazy, because COVID was like what, less than 1%, 4%. That's what it ended up coming out to. And then of course, hantavirus is, they say 30 to 40%.
It's 40.
And so, and then Ebola, I had no idea that that was the actual death rate. Now, I just wanted to point out some numbers since we were talking about Ebola right here. So right now, the most consistently reported numbers of Ebola, of the recent outbreak regarding, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and they're not really speaking about Uganda in this, but they are including it. I'm guaranteeing it because I've been following it myself. It says about 51 laboratory confirmed Ebola cases in the Congo is the outbreak currently, but roughly 500 to 600 suspected cases total are being investigated, and around 130 to 139 suspected deaths linked to the outbreak so far. So on this exact outbreak that we've been talking about here for the last 3 days on Insane Wheels anyways, it says the situation is evolving fast, so the confirmed numbers keep climbing as testing catches up. Just 5 days ago, reports were only talking about 13 confirmed cases, and then now it's above 50. So that's just letting you know the numbers right now.
Now, have you noticed that any of the major viruses that come out, it always end up starting in the Congo? You ever notice that?
Yeah.
Like it kind of makes you think that they just like they purposely just drop that shit there just to.
It's a testing ground.
Right.
Yeah.
There you that right there.
Mm-hmm.
Good at. That's exactly where I was going with that. Because it seems like just about every one of these really major ones always end up starting in the Congo. Somewhere, shape, form, or fashion, it always happens there. Like there's just like a breeding ground. Like, okay, let's try this and see what happened to them. Let's try this and see what happens to them. You know what I mean? Because it's basically they're basically isolated for the most part. And so how come they're always the first ones to get all this major stuff that's going on? One of the other things that we got going on right now, and I know Aaron got a lot of information on this, and we're talking about these ticks. Now, I know I've been talking to several people, you know what I mean, from different states, and they were talking about these ticks and how bad these ticks are. I talked to one person, and their little girl had got bitten by a tick, and she wasn't out in the grass playing. She was on the porch, got bit by a tick. Next morning, she comes to her and says, "Mommy, I got big muscles." And she shows her muscle, and her arm is just huge.
Oh, man, that sounds terrible.
So they rush them to the hospital. And, of course, as soon as you say anything about a tick, of course, they treating you for Lyme disease and all that. She ends up being okay. But there's a lot more to these ticks now. Then it's not just like all of a sudden ticks is just bad. There's been reports of a lot of these farmers talking about finding boxes on their properties loaded with ticks. A lot of these cattle ranchers and stuff like that have been reporting finding these quote unquote strange boxes on their farmland just loaded down with these ticks. Now here's the thing with now here's the thing with the ticks though. These ticks, if you are bitten, excuse me, and there's a certain type of tick called a Lone Star tick, and I know Aaron's going to get into that, but excuse me, one of the drawbacks of that is that if you're bitten by a Lone Star tick, it makes you sick to the point that, say, like you go to eat meat, it will make you sick. And it will continue to make you sick up to, I think, 5 years. Am I correct, Aaron?
That's correct.
Holy shit. Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. But I'm going to let Aaron dive into it, though, because I know he has quite a bit on there to say.
Real quick before he does, look at what Sick Bastard says. I pulled a tick off me today. Wow, geez, dude. Well, you may or may not want to hear this information now going forward.
Yeah,
okay, Aaron, go ahead and
want to hear this.
Okay,
all
go ahead and
hear
give it to
about
him.
these ticks right now, especially being the fact that it's going into spring into summer. These ticks is moving, they're running, and so everybody needs to know what's going on dealing with these things. Go ahead, Aaron.
Okay, Mike, give me picture number 5, please. Okay, right there shows the different types of ticks that are in the United States, and under each one, it shows what diseases it carries. Now, the second one on the left is the Lone Star tick. Then, Mike, give me picture 3.
All right. And by the way, yeah, and as you pointed that out, someone in the comment section said Lone Star tick makes you allergic to meat. There you go. And
Right.
so now which number did you say?
Number 3, please.
Number 3. Here we go.
Okay, what I want people to realize here, what's in the yellow or the tan is how far the ticks have traveled. And in just the past few years, the brown area are the areas that have been more infected recently. Now, like Bishop said, they're saying that these ticks are being dropped from helicopters because there's no way a tick can travel that kind of distance. And they could sit back and say, well, they're attaching themselves to migrating birds. Well, the winter months up north usually kills off a certain amount of insects, and ticks is one of them. We've had some severe weather this past winter, and going into the summer, we're at an epidemic stage for the ticks. I'm having a hard time believing that. Most of them should have died out from the extreme polar vortex type weather that we were having. But apparently they're spreading, and I don't want to say we're at an epidemic, but we're, for lack of a better word, I am going to say that. Then give me picture number 6.
All right.
This is the disease that Lone Star tick is carrying. It's called the alpha-gal syndrome, AGS. It's an allergic reaction triggered by a molecule that's naturally found in most mammals, which can be transmitted to humans via certain tick bites, mainly the Lone Star tick. It can be detected from specific blood tests. The CDC has info on how to manage this condition. If you go to their website, you can look up if you've got the disease, and they got information there to tell you how to handle it. The alpha-gal syndrome can be deadly without treatment. So if you think you've got it, you definitely want to go get checked out. As far as the mechanism, when a tick bites, it injects a sugar molecule into your bloodstream. Your immune system identifies this molecule as a threat and creates antibodies. Because red meat contains the same molecule, eating it triggers an immune response. Now, I kind of have a problem with that, because if the mammals already have that molecule and I'm eating red meat already and my body's not responding to it, then I don't quite get why it responds once the tick bites me, unless those ticks have been genetically modified. As far as treatment, you cannot eat any meat. It will trigger it. And then treatment in the emergency room, you have to take something called epiprine or something. I don't know. I may not be pronouncing that right, but epiprine is what you have to take, and you have to go to the emergency room to get treated. Your
Real quick,
symptoms.
Aaron.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
On that, just because that was actually my one question, is there like a treatment for this? And if there is, you'd think that, hey, I eat meat and now I'm getting sick every time I do that. You go and get treated for it. Do you only need the treatment one time, or is it like, oh, now you got to come back and do this whole long, 2-year recovery, taking this medicine or something?
If you try to eat meat, or you get, say you have pharmaceuticals that are based upon animal proteins or whatever, then you're going to end up back in the hospital every time that you consume meat. Your symptoms is most food allergies will happen quickly. Most food allergies, like if you got peanut allergies, you get peanuts in you, you see it within an hour that you've got an allergic reaction. The alpha-gal syndrome is actually a delayed reaction. It occurs 2 to 6 hours after you eat the food. Now, in the early stage of it, you have skin rash or hives, stomach pain, nausea, vomiting, or diarrhea, which is flu-like symptoms. All these things that we're discussing today all start off with flu-like symptoms. Swelling of the lips, face, throat, and eyelids. So you're going to kind of look like the elephant man a little bit here. You're going to have wheezing or shortness of breath. And the deadly part of it depending upon how much meat you consumed, you'll have anaphylaxis. That's a serious potential fatal reaction that can progress rapidly. The triggers that you're going to have to avoid will be meat from mammals. That's beef, pork, lamb, venison, and rabbit. You have to avoid dairy, which
So
is
what am I going to
milk.
eat? Nothing.
That's it. I'll come to that. You're going to have to avoid dairy, no milk, cheese, or any other dairy products. Gelatin, which is what they put some of these capsules are made out of, and certain medications containing mammal byproducts you have to avoid. Now you can have poultry and fish, but that's going to be it meat-wise. And alpha gal can go away over time, usually 5 years, so long as you don't get any additional tick bites. But you go to the family barbecue and Uncle Bob shows up with his prize-winning ribs and you decide you're going to pig out, boy, you're going to be in the emergency room for sure. So this isn't something like diabetes where I can take more insulin if I get too much sugar in me to compensate. There is no compensation. And probably the more you eat, the more ill you become.
Beans and rice it is.
Right. Okay, but then too, you also have to stress that there are several different species of ticks. So just because you get bit by a tick doesn't mean it is this particular kind of tick.
That's a good question. I'm actually going to look up how many variants there are or how many species of them. Let me look.
Well, you just put the picture up a minute ago. I think it was picture number 5.
Yeah, but would it show how many total ticks in the world? Oh, okay. This one is for the United States. This is
America,
the United States. Okay, actually, this is more of the question that I needed answered right here. So this is what we see most commonly in the United States, correct?
Right. And under each one shows what diseases they carry.
So those are the 6 that we will find here in America.
Now, there's 8. There's 8 there.
Oh, I mean, I'm 8. Sorry. Yeah. Nonetheless, there's 8 of them, and they all carry something, huh? It's not like not like, hey, one of them or 2 of them don't carry anything. So they're all something that you should, if you get bitten by or whatever, have a tick on you, you should probably get yourself checked out.
I would, just to be safe.
Yeah.
I mean, none of these illnesses that we're discussing today, as soon as you get flu-like symptoms, you have to listen to your body. You cannot assume, well, I just got the flu and it's it. You don't know what you've been exposed to. It's best to go get yourself checked out just to be sure.
Wow. And Poserpunk said 900 different species in the world, though. Wow, that's crazy. That's insane amount.
See, now here's another thing that we got a video that we're gonna play, and the reason why we're gonna play this video is because they're talking about this Lone Star tick, and the reason why this Lone Star tick is so important. And now just pay attention to what this man is saying, though, because when you hear what he says, you hear the words engineered. Just pay attention.
One guy at the World Economic Forum a couple months ago said out loud, humans are eating too much meat. They're not going to stop. One suggestion, I'm not saying we do it, but we could just release more ticks.
People eat too much meat, right? And if they were to cut down on their consumption on meat, then it would actually really help the planet. But people are not willing to give up meat. Possibly we can use human engineering to make it the case that we're intolerant to certain kinds of meat. There's this thing called the Lone Star tick, where if it bites you, you'll become allergic to meat. That's something that we can do through human engineering.
Oh, hell no.
And see, that was the world.
Why are these guys advocating to talk like that rhetoric? And like you're saying right there, Aaron, they're from the World Health Organization. It's not like it's like some random dude that's a nobody. The world is looking to this, kind of organization. And this guy's like out here going, yeah, we got the Lone Star tick out here that makes you allergic to meat. We can socially and human engineer to a point where people aren't eating meat like that.
Exactly. That was the point.
Oh my God.
I wanted to make on
mean,
See,
those are
because there was
ruling
a,
elite people with the World Economic Forum making decisions for the rest of us. And it's not in our best interest, that's for sure.
mhm. You know, there was also an old conspiracy theory connected back to Plum Island Disease Center. You remember that research facility that was off the coast of New York? And they were saying that some people claimed that those ticks escaped from there that contributed to the Lyme disease spread. However, there
Oh,
was
shit.
no actual conclusive evidence as to whether that was real or not. Um, but these ticks are surviving in areas and interacting with humans more than they ever have. And unlike a lot of them was saying that they survived in like warmer climates, and you know, you got deer ticks that, you know, of course they thrive in deer populations or whatever. And then you have, of course, you got land development and changing ecosystems and all that. But like Aaron was talking about before, you had a total, basically a polar vortex that went on in the Midwest and North region throughout the winter. So if they thrive on warmer climates, and you had basically a polar vortex most of the winter up there, so how are they able to expand so far out like that? But like I said, there's been a lot of reports in the Midwest, Midwest and North regions where these farmers have been reporting these boxes showing up, or they
I
finding
wish they would
boxes on the
record it.
land loaded.
They should-
Well, there's several videos that's out
Oh,
with
good.
people, yeah, with these farmers showing these boxes, and they're just loaded with ticks and
That's insane.
showing the weeds and all that stuff, and it's just mountains of ticks just all over them. So is that something that was actually bioengineered to put out there? Now, like you said, you know, ticks has been out as long as we know,
Yeah,
but
it's easy to do though. You know, you
right,
just drop a box of ticks off on properties. I mean, you can that realistically you can get anybody to do that, right? You know, some billionaire offers some crackhead, you know, hey, I'll give you $1,000 to go drop off these packages.
well, you got to think also as well. You got government and militaries that have
Of course.
historically researched insects and disease transmissions. You have biological research labs that exist all around the world. You have a lot of these tick-borne illnesses that appear, and they've been increasing in a lot of these different regions around the world. And the whole meat allergy connection, it sounds real bizarre and almost science fiction like when you talk about it, because okay, now we have, you know, they're talking about when you start hearing all the stuff that we're talking about now with the cell cultivated meat and the fake meats and all this stuff, and they're talking about, you know, you're going to run out of meat within a period of time because everybody's consuming so much meat or whatever. And then now you got this mysterious tick that if it bites you, you don't got to worry about eating meat for the next 5 years because it's going to make you sick. So a lot of this stuff kind of connects, you know what I mean?
Of course it does.
A lot of this stuff really don't make sense. Yes, it does sound bizarre and it sounds, you know, far-fetched, and yeah, like, yeah, it would actually sound conspiracy theory.
Is the
But
motive
it's not.
is the motive for, like, I always look at, like, I'm trying to think of, okay, yes, that's totally realistic, but what's their aim if they do that? Like, if that narrative is true, are they trying to attack the, you know, the or trying to save the cattle market or something? What is the actual, is it because they're worrying that obviously too many people are eating meat? That's what the WHO is saying. So we don't have enough to supply that. So we'll just make people sick so that they can't consume it. And then they have nothing to complain about on us giving them billions of dollars or whatever the case is. I don't know what's the motive.
Well, you got to think, number one, you have mass overpopulation. Number one. Number two, you have older people that's actually living a lot longer, which would incorporate with the mass population, because there's not, when you look at the actual scale of children being born as to, older people living longer, it's like this, because less people are having children these days. You know what I mean? Because right now, really can't even afford them, to tell you the truth. So a lot of them really aren't having children, and they're pursuing more of their career and all that, and being able to, survive on their own without having to bring in, children. So you have that. Then you have a lot of these countries that are already dealing with food shortages, droughts, crops not coming in, all of this stuff. So I think it's all centralized around the whole population thing itself. What do you think, Aaron?
Well, I want to add to what you're saying. It's definitely depopulation control, because like we said in the last show, we entered a new technological era from 2025 to 2035. AI is about to replace, I've got a meme that shows how many jobs have been replaced already, and it's way up in the number. And when the robots come out in 2029, man, you're not going to need Uber drivers. You're not going to need semi-truck drivers. You're not going to need bank tellers. Doctors, surgeons, especially surgeons, are going to be replaced by robots. Roofers will be replaced by robots. I done seen all kinds of robots, and then there's going to be military. Quite a few of them aren't going to be needed. What are you going to do when you displace millions of people that can't work? You can't put them on a welfare system. It's already overextended. And then on top of that, if the people aren't working, they're not paying taxes. So that reduces the tax base. So the best thing you could do is cull the herd. Every year in my area, they go out and they have a big hunt to reduce the deer population so that they can survive the winter.
So why wouldn't they do it with humans?
They're going to do it with humans because the world is way overpopulated. AI don't need all these people.
Yeah, no kidding.
So what are you going to do with them? And you can't pay them to sit at home the rest of their life. You can't afford it.
I like TJ right here. He says, tax the robots. W comment. I like that.
Yeah, they ain't trying to tax that. Have you seen where they've been talking about these data centers that's been using millions of gallons and hadn't paid a cent for it?
Yep,
right?
I've been following it a lot, actually. That's something that we ran on our campaign, was talking about data centers and how bad they actually are. Truth be told, it's something that it's really diabolical. Not only for the aspect of the resources it takes to run data centers, but how they actually disperse the payment of how they use electricity, water, all of that. It goes into the commonwealth of the people. It's not like, hey, we'll individually only charge them when they use this much amount of electricity. Well, it doesn't only correlate to them. It correlates to everyone around the area, on that area. So everyone's bill goes up. Same thing with the water. And not only that, there's people that can't even, when they turn on their faucets, they can't even have running water. It's like barely pushing out, dribbling out, because there's no water pressure. They're using it all up at the data centers, man. So it's incredible.
And I'm going to add to that. I'm going to use Walt Disney, for example. I believe they just recently laid off 30,000 people that was associated with their MGM, not MGM, but that, God, I can't think of it, Marvel Comics group that was making movies and stuff. They cut them because AI is going to take over, which clearly shows that this is an example of BLM. And I'm not talking about Black Lives Matter. I'm talking about the bottom line matters. And that's what counts. Greed is going to rear its head. Some people are going to get richer. The poor is going to get poorer. And it's all going to go down by 2030. If you're making 140,000 or less, you will be considered poor in the United States.
Well, shit, that's basically where we're at right now. It's crazy though, but even places like where I live, which they call the rural country of the country, right? you still got to have $100,000 to even feel like you're somewhat living decently. Like that's crazy that we're at this point right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so this makes you, think like, hey, maybe I shouldn't be spending $100,000 on a truck right now, right?
They telling you the day will come where you will own nothing and you will be happy.
Right. True.
People in my generation, we've done paid for our properties and our houses. But my daughter, my grandchildren, I fear for their future because of this world and how expensive everything is becoming.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we're sitting at 105. So we're gonna trim it down for the evening. But we're gonna give our little final thoughts here before we end the show. But like at this very moment, you got the Hantavirus, you got the Norovirus, you got Ebola, you got these ticks, you got this outbreak dealing with that. Is all these used as a depopulation tool? Do we have 100% proof of it? No, but it does actually correlate with each other. That it could very well be, you know what I mean. But that's just more getting more information and watching and seeing what exactly is going on, because the world is dealing with more outbreak fears. You got global health systems remaining vulnerable. You have misinformation that's been spreaded around, and then the public trust, especially dealing back from COVID now, has really been damaged. So a lot of stuff that we do here dealing with this stuff, you either don't want to believe or you call BS because we went through that before. You know what I mean? They've put out different propaganda. They've lied to us. They, convinced everybody to take the shot. And then now you're realizing that the shot is actually messing people up now. You know what I mean? There's a whole lot of different stuff dealing with that. So maybe the bigger conversation with this is how do people stay informed about becoming paranoid without becoming paranoid, that is. How do you question systems without falling into some kind of hysteria? And how do these societies prepare for future outbreaks without surrounding critical thinking? Because that's exactly what we're doing. We're critical thinkers. And we've taken this information and we correlate it and put it together to where it makes sense. You know what I mean? Because we've been lied to all these years. You know what I mean? Isn't it right for some time in your life to actually get the truth about something that's going on? You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that we try to do here. But I thank each and every one of you for coming out like you come out every week. Like, follow, share, subscribe. Hit that like button on your way out. Those of you that's on my side, please go over and subscribe to Insane Wheels. Those of you over here, vice versa. Now,
Absolutely.
we say this now, the reason why I say that is because we say that every week, but we look at the numbers and tell that you're not doing it.
True.
So do it.
Here,
So
I'll drop your link on my side too. Yep.
So we know that you're not doing it. So do it.
Yep. Facts.
Also, if you hit the little QR code up there, it takes you over to the shop, and we got a lot of good stuff on there. And if you're actually a subscriber there, I think it's like a $2.99 subscription, whatever. It kicks you over to another section where it has a lot of other stuff that you wouldn't even see on there. So go on there and check that out. Also, those of you on Facebook, go on the Dominant Effect on Facebook. We got a group there. We put a lot of posts, videos, information, and stuff on there all the time as well. And I think that's about it. Like I said, we'll see you all in 7 days, and I'll have another story that we're gonna put out, and hopefully we can share some more information. We was going. I don't know. There's really so much stuff that's going on now. It's kind of hard to keep up.
Yes.
Right. To try to keep everything going because there's so much stuff that's going on. But
it's wild.
Yeah. So we're gonna do one story at a time, 1 week at a time, and hopefully we can get all the information out and get it covered. But like I said, the difference between us and mainstream is because you come on here, you're gonna get the truth. Good, bad, the ugly. That's what it is. So see y'all next week. Go ahead, Aaron.
Okay. I'm going to say that the headlines may be loud and may even seem to be scary, but to me, the truth matters more than fear. If you're going to travel the world, whether it's because of your job or you just want to travel to see the sights, you're going to expose yourself to the health risks from around the world. Early symptoms from everything we discussed today were flu-like symptoms. So if you take a trip and you come back and you suddenly come down with the flu, don't ignore what your body's telling you. Get yourself to the doctor. Early diagnosis is key to making it through some of these things. And then also rodent and insect control. That isn't old school advice. That is frontline defense right now. You know, to me, being prepared isn't about fear. It's about educating yourself and exercising options that give you and your family the best chance of making it through the turbulent times that we are living in. And I'll stop there.
Literally, I can't add to that. That was exactly perfect. W, Aaron. All right. Listen, thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. We always appreciate you guys and your engagement. Listen, we'll be back here in 7 days. Like Aaron and AB, or like AB was saying, make sure you guys go. I dropped the links for the Facebook group. I also dropped the link to AB. Make sure you guys go over to the channel, Diamond Effect. Go over there and subscribe, please. Because like he was saying, we can tell that you're not doing it. So anyways, much love to everybody. We'll see you guys here in 7 days. God bless everyone. We'll see you guys very soon.
Goodbye.